I grew up in Nigeria with my family, low income. As low income as it gets. There's more than how many of us in that 2-bedroom house that was falling apart, and when it would rain, we'd have to patch up the side of the house. I've built houses, you see them bricklayers, I've done that. Especially as a person of color. You could be the one who qualifies for that thing the most, and it's just not going to come to you because of who you are by nature. It's like selective. It's like insane and sickening that you walk into a place and you're like,
it's my first time swearing in the podcast. But yes, but I don't think it's as easy as how others describe. Today, we have an honored guest and a very good friend of mine. She is rooted from Nigeria, transformed her life when she came to United States at a very young age. She specifically came to New York and continued to discover the world with education in Thailand and Korea. She had several life-changing experiences adapting and immersing herself in each different culture. She is Favoured-Joy, Oghenekome, and she prefers to go by Joy. Welcome, Joy.
hi.
So yeah, your journey has been so adventurous.
Mm-hmm.
Again, from Nigeria to New York to Thailand and then to Korea.
Yeah.
You know, you are one of the few people who has been into the continent of North America, Africa, and Asia.
Yeah.
That's a lot of rich experience and a lot of rich culture. What have been the best part that make you who you are?
The collation of my experiences. So every day I'm growing into a different person and a better person, or improving versions of myself, updating, the cultural experiences I've had, especially when I experience very diverse and distinct things. I think that really expands and pushes my mindset and my understanding of the world. So yeah.
You've mentioned understanding of the world and also keep updating yourself. What does that mean to you?
I think it's more about taking opportunities and exploring things that I might consider scary, and just going out and trying to do whatever I find interesting. And I think having conversations that might seem difficult, I think that really opens your perspective of the world. Yeah.
What do you think you have tried that kind of break you through that experience and be like, wow, this is the experience that actually helped me become a better version of yourself, or even maybe find yourself better?
Definitely the key life experience that has made me who I am today is my journey moving from Nigeria to America. I was 14 when I first moved here. It was my teenage years, it's when you're starting to form your personality and who you are. And so I left all my friends, all the things that were my comfort, the things I grew up with, and I came into a completely different world. I went into high school here in America, and I thought I didn't have culture shock when I first got here, but now that I think back, I'm like, everything was new to me. Every single thing was new to me. And I think how I was able to manage all of that and just take it a day at a time and be open to understanding people, I think that has really influenced me and pushed me to, now I've experienced Nigerian culture. I grew up in it. I now live in the American culture. I want to go experience Asian culture. So I pack my bags and I go to South Korea. I come back and I'm like, I want some more. I pack my bags and I go to Thailand. And experiencing the diversity within Asia, the diversity within America itself, the diversity within Nigerians. We're really, really diverse culture. So I'm just used to new things being around me. Discovering something new has been the order of the day since forever. taking it on a more serious note and really using it to like curate my thinking, that really happened through my Nigerian to America high school moving experience.
Yeah. I myself too can relate, because I have the experience from Malaysia coming to New York,
Yeah.
and it was a huge culture shock for me too. Everything was super new, like you mentioned. Every day is a discovery. So for an expert like you are, because you've been to 3 different continents and many different countries and experienced many culture shock, many more than most people. How do you navigate through this culture shock, and how do you think others who are in the same experience can get out of it?
So, thanks to my marketing class from this semester, there's actually a word I can now put to this thought when I'm talking about it. It's your self-referencing criteria. Self-referencing criteria is where you experience the world through your eyes. You meet someone new and they're doing something, but that thing is so strange to you. So you're like, why are they even doing that? Right? And you meet someone and something that's amazing to you. For them, it might be the regular order of the day, but because you're experiencing it through your perspective, that's amazing to you. Something that's helped me in navigating cultures is being able to put away my self-referencing criteria and allow yourself to be a toddler and be like, what is this? And just take it all in. Then you use your understanding of the world and your values and use that to understand what you're going to accept in your life. Because while all cultures might be different and beautiful in their own ways, you need to also be able to filter out, okay, this is amazing, but this is not for me. I'll just take everything for what it is, see it, understand it, try to understand it. You might not be able to understand everything, but based on your foundational norms and your values, you then understand, okay, this is what I think I can participate in this. I think I can accept this. And even if you don't accept, tolerance is literally, I feel like it's not a word that's used anymore in a world where we should be constantly using the word tolerance because of how diverse we are and how we're now interacting with each other more. So tolerance is key. Yeah.
Yeah. You touch on a very good piece, self-referencing, and also how you tolerate, right? I heard of this sentence too that can relate to this topic. It is saying that, what if you are wrong?
Yeah.
And a lot of the times people don't like to be wrong and don't like to challenge their own beliefs. And I think exactly what you're saying, you could be wrong and kind of pull yourself out and understand the situation and then see if it applied to you. One of the reasons why I want to have this conversation with you too is because you're a dear friend where you understand many different cultures, yet you still remain a very original self of you. And I think I know where they come from now. You see the world as it is and see if that applies to you. And it sounds like a fun experience too. Do you have any other fun experience that you can share that kind of make you who you are?
So another huge part of, I think it's important for me to share in how I see and perceive the world and how I approach the world is my faith. I'm Christian, and just to know and state, every Christian is not the same. Everyone practices differently and everyone has a different level of relationship with God and in their faith. What I hold myself to and what I found in my religion that grounds me in the world is that at the end of the day, we're all children of God. We're all one same person, right? Children grow up a certain way because of their environment. Doesn't mean that they're innately wrong or they're innately bad people. And I think that really helped me to approach the world in more of an understanding way. Even when something is not right, I'm able to be like, okay, what can I do in this situation? Am I able to influence this situation in any way? And if not, what do? I pray for them. Because at the end of the day, I'm just human. We're all human and we cannot control most things in the world. So you just take the world as you see it, pray about your world, pray about what change you want to see in your world, speak into reality. Manifest that thing that you want to see in your world. Pray about it. And if you can actually work towards it, work towards it. Do something if you can. That's a really huge part of also like how I approach the world. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you also have this belief that no one is truly bad.
Mhm.
And a person is how he is because of the history that built up and made it become this person.
Mhm.
So yeah, you kind of view it in a very kind way where you accept who they are because we are the product of our situation.
Mhm.
And I love that you shared it.
Yeah, and just like you mentioned before, you're like, what if I'm wrong? You know, because at the end of the day, it's all perspective. Like, I'm the way I am because of how I grew up, right? So what if my thought, this other person considers my thought to be wrong, you know? And if we're both approaching each other with you're wrong and you're wrong, that's just tension. That doesn't breed anything positive. So approaching it from a, okay, what are you about? Okay, I see. I hear you. I may not understand. I see and I hear you. I'm good on this one though. I'm not gonna take that into my life. But you go ahead. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, you do you. And I'll do me. And you exchange, in essence, what someone else might be like, oh, I like that about you. I wanna do that in the way that you do that. And then you might also meet someone and be like, I like that about you. I wanna do that. So when you lay your cards on the table and get to understand and get to know each other versus you're wrong and you're wrong. It's just like you don't even give yourself a space to see that at the end of the day, I think no one is like completely different from anyone. I think we all have our similarities. If we drew a Venn diagram of our personalities, there's always going to be that joint area.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you say that everyone is different, yet everyone is also similar.
Mm-hmm.
And this is exactly what my experience bring me to because I came from Malaysia, like I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm basically across the earth from United States.
Right.
However, a lot of times I still find some similarities with other people.
Yeah.
And you gotta kind of gauge what you like and what you don't like, right?
Yeah.
And then you can pick up whatever personalities or qualities that you prefer. Yeah, that's the way to live.
Yeah.
And just now you mentioned a lot of positive experience. How about those that are less glamorous, that kind of make you who you are though? Because I believe good things and bad things happen, and both shape you who you are. So yeah.
Yeah, of course, of course. I love to talk about my story because I feel like, at least to me in my world, there's no way my life has changed so much. It's so insane to me how much my life has changed. And I love to talk about it because I think that somehow one day there will be one person who gets motivated by it. I grew up in Nigeria with my family, low income. As low income as it gets. There's more than how many of us in that 2-bedroom house that was falling apart, and when it would rain, we would have to patch up the side of the house. I've built houses. You see them bricklayers. I've done that. I go get sand and I mix the concrete and I did the bricklaying and you put the thing and you put the brick and you put the thing and you put the brick. Yes, I've done that. When you see the stereotypical kind of silly images of Africa, yeah, they have to go fetch water from miles away. Yeah, I did that. I lived that life. Life has been, I wish I could show pictures. I wish I could. I can't wait to be at that stage in my life where I'm confident enough to really show pictures of where I come from. It's sad that I'm still in that process of accepting and being comfortable with sharing image-wise and letting people truly see where I came from, right? I talk about it a lot, but it would be harder for me to show a picture because then it would become reality for people who to see that, oh yeah, she's real. Like, but yeah, life wasn't easy. Single parent household. My mom, God bless her, God was able to like give her a chance to come to America. So from the ages of 6 to 14, she would visit. She did everything she could to raise us, even while being thousands of miles away, all the way in America. 6 to 14, I feel like those were like my preteen, growing up, childhood to preteen, teenager years. So there was a lot of missing out on being raised in a stable environment. However, one thing my family always did their best to do was educate us. We would not eat for education. I would walk to school if I had to walk to school. I can tell my kids I trekked miles to go to school because I did that. Whatever was needed, I would use the same uniform for years. And I was a kid and I played and I messed up my uniform, but I had one uniform or two maybe. Life was hard, but I never felt it in that moment because God was gracious enough. I have a family that's loving. I had my siblings, even on the tough days. At the end of the day, we'd come together and we'd eat together. Whatever little we had, it was always you had family at the end of the day. I used to hate the term poverty, but it was poverty. But it made me appreciate life. I'm not crazy about the materialistic things. I learned to be more considerate to my family. I learned to be more considerate of other people. I remember when I first got to America not too long, like in high school, I had this friend tell me, she was like, hey, I think you need to go shopping. You need like more clothes. Like I know your entire closet. And I was like, I would never say that to a person because I know where I'm coming from, you know? So I tend to be more understanding of people in that sense. It's not like I'm completely out of that life of like working hard and struggling, but it's an insane and dramatic change that has happened for me and my family. And yeah, life was hard. And life is getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course, of course.
That is truly crazy to think about where you started from and where you are right now. You might not think of it as much because you keep progressing in your life, but started from building your own house, bringing your sand, bringing your own water from miles away to now. Almost,
Turn on the tap.
I know, turn on the tap. You're in New York,
Yeah.
one of the biggest city in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
You are finishing your undergrad degree. You had the experience to study in New York, Thailand, Korea, Europe.
Yeah.
Look at where you are right now.
It's insane. And like, one thing I learned when I came to America, and I keep preaching this, is opportunity and networking. You are in a space where you have opportunity. But people who have been in that space, you become nonchalant and you become oblivious to the opportunity around you. You tend to look for more excuses. It gets harder to understand your privilege. But one thing I keep preaching, and I hope that people really understand and tap into, is that there is opportunity. There is opportunity. It might be hard, obviously, because sometimes the world is just against you, especially as a person of color. You could be the one who qualifies for that thing the most, and it's just not going to come to you because of who you are by nature. But there's opportunity. When you search for it and you try for it, and then it doesn't come to you by matter of discrimination or by other injustices, that's when your fight is louder, right? And that's when your fight is stronger. And that's when you can have people rally around you and the world will see you and see what you did. And then when things don't work out, keep trying. If that's things don't work out because maybe you just didn't have enough experience or something, keep building yourself. But if things don't work out because you walked into an interview and someone didn't like that your hair was puffy and it's afro, what are you supposed to do about it? That's a different circumstance where you can fight for what is right, fight against that injustice. But at the end of the day, there is opportunity. When you exist in a space without opportunity, then you really come to understand how much opportunity and how much privilege you have. Nigeria, you could graduate with top grades. Like, I have family members and friends, smart people, intelligent, graduated high school. When you graduate from high school, you have to take this exam called WAEC and JAM. And those are the exams that place you in university. Richer people, via corruption, can buy out your exam grades for their kid. They're not giving you the money. They're buying it from an administrator who changes the name of the person who got that grade. And so you don't get posted into that school. You don't get into the school you deserve to get into. Heck, you don't even get into school at all. People wait years to get into school, not because they're not good enough, but because they don't have the money to bribe somebody and because they don't know somebody in that space to bribe. So that is when you see, like, opportunity doesn't even exist. The opportunity does not exist. In high school in America, I got the chance to go to Harvard for summer school. We couldn't really afford it, but I was like, that's a really good experience, and I just wanted to apply for it. I applied for it. I got into it somehow. And somehow I got financially to wherever, I don't know where the money came from. And I got aid from people around me, right? At least if the opportunity did not even exist at all to apply to that summer school, to improve myself, to grow myself, I wouldn't have had those chances. If the opportunity of study abroad didn't exist, I would never have gone to Korea. I have friends who speak better Korean than me. People in Nigeria speak better Korean, never leaving the country one time. But they don't have that opportunity to travel. They don't have that opportunity to do the things that I'm able to do simply because I'm in America. I really encourage people, take advantage of the opportunities you have, especially when you're a student. The world excuses your behavior when you're a student. Once you're an adult, everything you do wrong, you were held accountable for that. And the accountability doesn't come small. It comes big. You can ruin your career. People could lose their licenses over what they do. So do those research. Experiment with all the things you want to experiment with. Learn things. Have conversations. Have difficult conversations. Because you're a student. Even if you get canceled by your peers or by teachers or by the internet, you're a student. You can wake up tomorrow and say, I've learned better. I'm a student. I'm growing. I'm developing. So take advantage of the host of opportunities you have. I'm so close to graduation. What freaks me out the most is the loss of that opportunity. I know I've done a lot, and people tell me, oh, you've done a lot, but I just feel like I missed that. I could have done that. I could have done this and the third. I could have done more internships. I could have done more things for my campus community. I didn't realize how much I want to be part of this campus community and want to, like, give back to this campus community. I could have done so much more. So, like, take advantage of that opportunity when you have it. At least that's kind of the message I want to preach. I just talk so long on that, but yeah.
You are good. Because you talk so many gems in there. Okay, so myself, right? I did not realize I'm privileged. I just realized too, most people would think themselves as underprivileged. But a lot of the times, we have more opportunities than we think. Although, not everyone have the equal opportunities. And like you said, some people got to fight for it. But doesn't matter how you find the opportunity, search for them and also grab them and use the opportunity to the best of its ability. And as a student, I think you're right. You have a lot of opportunities for you to knock through and just fail and learn from it, right? And that's beautiful that we get to experience this with all the opportunities that we have.
Right.
even myself, I fall into the mistake of thinking others have more opportunities. That might be true. But at the same time, I also have a lot more opportunities than a lot of people. So in my own experience, I can also share that I'm from Malaysia, coming here, I'm an international student. So a lot of the time, I feel like I have lesser opportunities compared to the domestic students. But you know who I have more opportunity than? People back home.
Yeah.
People back home that never been to US, never been to New York, and even have the chance to suffer what I suffer. And that's an opportunity too.
That's really good. That's really good. What you think is a struggle for you, what do you think is a suffering for you, it's somebody else's prayer point. It's what they're hoping for. They're like, if I could just get into that, I could just get that opportunity. No matter how hard it is, I'll make it out the other side. People are seeking that opportunity to struggle that struggle. Your struggle is an opportunity to somebody.
Yeah. And just now too, you mentioned education is a big thing for you.
100%.
And I think you also make it sound like the education creates the opportunity. And I also believe we can be a student of life. And you do not need to be a student in a school, college, or university or institution to be a student. You can just be a student of life. You don't really need a space that makes you learn. You can find that space. When you're ready to learn, opportunity lies everywhere. And everywhere that you go and everything that you experience, there's some opportunity for you to learn from. Yeah. And just now you mentioned that one of your biggest drives is religion. At the same time, you also mentioned that one of your bigger drive is dream and goals. If you have the space, you have the financial freedom to find your own creativity and explore it, what would that be?
I would address big institutions, governments, corporations, the people who are in the room making those decisions, the behind the scenes people who lobby for things, right? Working from that high level while also working at the grassroots level. I want to be able to bring support to people, create outreach, create opportunity for people, because I already talked about how opportunity has lifted me, elevated me immensely, while being at a space where I can ensure that that opportunity works for those people. I want to be able to be up there, making sure that those people at the grassroots who are getting an opportunity can have sustainable opportunity that actually makes the world better for them. Like, okay, we're going to do this the right way, because I also have influence on the upper government scale, where I'm advising governments and actually implementing efficient bureaucratic structures. It's insane how much of a backlog there is. Of course, there's corruption on one hand, but I think there's also inefficiency. Whole lot happened.
Yeah. No, it seems like you want to close the gap between having the opportunities, right? Having the opportunities to be reachable and also more accessible across people. Not just a specific group of people getting the advantage of having more opportunities, but actually across the board having equal opportunities for you to reach to the top. Because that's what elevate people, that's what help people learn, and that's what make people better.
Yeah. I sincerely believe that in life, the only thing that should be holding you back is yourself. It should be that you didn't wake up early for that interview. It wasn't because you woke up early and you couldn't get there because the roads are bad and the transportation is horrible. It should be because you woke up late. And then you can take responsibility for your actions.
The mountain is you.
Yeah.
It's actually a book, not...
Oh, really?
not from Eason Lee. Not so wise.
No.
But yeah, there's a book called The Mountain Is You. I highly recommend it to any listener that is watching too. Because, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of obstacles in life, but you can get through them.
Mm-hmm.
But are you giving yourself the excuse for you to move forward? Or are you actually finding solution to the mountain that you are facing?
Mm-hmm.
So what if
Mm.
you are the lawmaker today and you can make any law in the world
Oh my
and
goodness.
everyone in the whole world has to follow?
Mm-hmm.
Not just United States, not just Nigeria, not just any country that you've been to, but the whole earth have to follow. What would be the one rule that you create that everyone has to follow?
Any form of killing is over. Life is hope and life is opportunity. Life is everything. If you don't have, you're just not existent if you don't have life. And I feel like it's unfair to be robbed of that. To be robbed of that opportunity that you could have had. To be robbed of your tomorrow. And we never know what tomorrow is going to bring. So it's just so unfair for killing to happen.
Death is very absolute, right?
Yeah. Death is death. Death is death. Taking life, which no human can create. No matter how much you put it in a lab, you did not create Adam. So taking life is just unfair and damaging thing, because even if somebody was like, they don't share the same perspective as you, give them tomorrow. Give them next tomorrow. Have conversations. Okay. I'm going to give you perspective as to why I'm so focused on the killing perspective. No country is perfect. However, for me, as a woman of color in America, I'm always scared for my life.
What do people of color mean to you?
Of how I understand the American perspective is non-Caucasian presenting people. And I say presenting very cautiously because we have mixed people who have Black genetics, Black blood mixed in them, Black history, Black culture mixed in them, but they are Caucasian presenting, right? You're white presenting. White, I think, is a better general term. As long as you don't present white in the American space, you become part of a lower hierarchy in society. It's just what it is. It's just the history. Hopefully one day we'll move past it. However, as of today still, just being a non-white person makes your experience very different from a white person on a regular basis. And so when I say people of color, I'm referring to non-white individuals, and non-white presenting individuals. So yeah. What was I saying?
So sorry to interrupt your thoughts.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, you were trying to describe why killing is terrible, and also as for people of color.
Right. Exactly. Thank you. Putting me back on track. So, why I focus on killing and people of color is because I'm going to give you a specific example. I was in Korea in spring 2022, and that was when the Buffalo shootings happened. The one at the store in Buffalo, I believe it was a Walmart or something. And for me, it was just like, I have friends in Buffalo, and I was like, oh my God. That shooting was so bizarre. He walks in the store with a gun when he sees a white person. And he's like, oh, my bad. And then proceeds to shoot the black person down the aisle. You know what I'm saying? It's like selective. It's like insane and sickening that you walk into a place and you're like, oh, as long as you present black, you deserve to die just for the color of your skin. If I was a mixed person who present white and he looked me over because I don't look black, I would thank God that I present white in that moment. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
imagine you have a sibling, right? Imagine that person has a sibling who, by genetics, just happens to present darker. That's it for them. You know what I'm saying? It's insane and it's unfair and it's sickening. No killing is fair. There's no killing that is fair. I'm sitting in Korea. I'm able to go out till however time in the morning and come back. But I just know that guns are illegal and I'm chilling. I felt guilty for the level of safety I was feeling in a different country. I felt insanely guilty because I knew that the most I'm going to get when I go outside as a Black person in South Korea is stares. And maybe there's a few randoms. I'm saying that's just the world. There's bad people, but it's like I'm not constantly on edge because of my skin color. I'm not thinking about death in terms of my skin color. I would think of maybe like compliments, like being stared at, like a tool of experiment. But like that's, for me, I'm fine because I love to teach. I love to share experiences to people. And then if I'm your first experience of a Black person, cool, great. At least I know I'm tolerant to have a conversation with you. But it's just like, it's so unfair for people to be treated in such a manner where just by manner of what you present, your life is in danger. So that's why I would cancel out killing. Yeah.
And a lot of what you said too is very related to bias, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very long history of bias that creates today's bias of a certain race. And I'm very curious, what's a common misunderstanding about you that a lot of people have? And how do others that have their personal bias, how do they tackle that? How do they have this non-bias to anyone?
The first part of your question, bias that I think people have towards me, is difficult to tell because usually if I don't really know you, I don't really try to care what you think. And if I do find out about someone's biases towards me, it's more usually like, oh, I think she's mean. I don't know if it's the usual angry Black woman thing or thought that goes into people's minds, but even Black people tell me like, sometimes you look mean. I'm not mean. I just don't have a very happy resting face. So
Yeah, joy is not a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always often stressed, so that's what you're seeing. I'm stressed. In terms of handling biases, like even I myself, I have my biases. I mean, I feel it's okay to have biases. I think biases are naturally occurring, but then it's how much we feed into our biases that is the problem. So I could have met Eason, right? And I'm like, give me an example so I don't feel bad for it.
Wow. To the audience, I'm an Asian guy with fair skin.
I would have met Eason and been like, oh my gosh, Eason has to be like a math major.
Fair enough.
It's like it's the stereotype for Asians. It's like, yeah, I'm like, Eason has to be a math major. But imagine I just came up to you and like I continuously ask you for help in math, right? Eason, you studied HR. Maybe you're good at math also. I don't know, right? But you studied HR. If I'm constantly bringing to you my statistics work, my higher level statistic work, I'm like, Eason, you have to know this. And like, you have to know this. You have to understand this. You must know because you're simply Asian. You simply must know. That's a ridiculous example, but it's feeding into your biases where you refuse to accept the truth of a person based on your preconceived notion of them. Even when you get to know them, you consistently maintain your preconceived notion of them instead of getting to actually see the truth. So I think this is natural to have biases, but if there's a situation where you can learn more about that person or that event or a cultural occurrence, get to know more about it before you make your conclusions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like too. It's okay to have bias.
Mm-hmm.
It sometimes could be healthy even,
Mm-hmm.
but don't make decision based on the bias.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course, of course.
With one of the reasons why I invite you to this conversation is that there's many reasons. But one of the reasons is that you're very accepting for other people and also very accepting of yourself. You are very yourself. You seem to disagree though.
Because, I told you, I'm constantly updating, right? I'm never going to fully know myself. We're all humans and we're all people. So I tend to question myself a lot sometimes because I'm surrounded by people who are great and absolutely loving and kind and gracious to me. So sometimes you question, do I actually deserve this? Do you deserve the good things that come to you? Do you actually deserve what you get? And sometimes I'm like, how can I be a better person? Because at the end of the day, there's also people I've hurt through the process of life. And so it's like, how can I be a better person? So at the end of the day, I'm trying to accept myself, the good and bad side, difficult sides, and the improving sides.
Yeah. I know we talked about this even before the podcast too, about accepting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The first step of loving yourself is to accept yourself. And we hear this sentence about you should love yourself. Everyone fucking say that.
Mm-hmm.
That's my first time swearing in a podcast. But yes. But I don't think it's as easy as how others describe. Because even the first step is difficult.
Yeah.
About accepting yourself. How would you advise me or yourself?
I'm going to be honest and be like, because this might not be an advice that everyone is able to take, but the biggest thing that helps me in times of doubting myself, in times of questioning myself, what brings me back to accepting myself and grounding myself is my faith. Because at the end of the day, I don't have to be stellar perfect. I have a guide. I'm working every day towards salvation. I'm working every day towards who I want to be in Christ, right? So I think that really helps me to ground myself. I might be the kindest person, but at the end of the day, I have a guide that reminds me how to be kind, how other ways I can show kindness, and how other ways I can love people. And it constantly reminds me to treat others better. So my faith definitely helps me to accept myself more because God loves me and I know that. So I feel like if God can love me for who I am, I can get to love myself. I'm not going to love myself and remain complacent in who I am today. I'm going to love myself enough to develop myself. I'm going to love myself enough to be like, hey, you did that wrong. Fix that. Love yourself enough to caution yourself. There's a part of the Bible that says, a father will scold the kid he loves. If a kid is not your child, they could be doing the craziest thing. And you don't say anything because that's not your child and that's not your place. But if you love your child and you see your child eating rocks, you're going to be like, here, have some bread instead. So that's how God treats us and that's how God treats me. And that's how I go into understanding and loving myself. Even though I do wrong things, I have to love myself enough to caution myself and know, okay, you're doing this wrong. Fix it. Get it together. Not beating on yourself, but acknowledging where you've gone wrong and working towards being better.
Just gonna let that sit there for a little bit. So, I want to ask this as our last question.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a culture of this podcast too. What is the best advice that you have ever heard? Could you share it to us?
Best advice I've ever heard. This isn't advice from a person. This is advice from the Bible. To him that knows what to do and does not do it, to him it is a sin. Let me break that down. When you have the knowledge of what to do and you do not do that, that is a sin against yourself. That is a sin for you. Like, hold your morals, hold your standards. Hold your morals and hold your standards. Because somebody could do the exact same thing and get away with it. But you know that's wrong. Doesn't matter if you get away with it physically. You mentally trap yourself in that prison where you know that was wrong and what you did was wrong. So stay true to yourself and do what you know is right to do. If you know you could have done better, but you gave your minimum, you're always going to know that you didn't do that right. You know? Yeah.
I love that. Absolutely love that. And I agree too. Just for the audience and for myself, can you say that sentence just one more time?
Okay. To him that knows what to do and does not do it, to him that is a sin.
So I also want to give you the last opportunity to. Do you have anything that you want to share with the audience about anything at all?
Okay. Well, this one's for you. I told you I was going to tell you this. I got the critical language scholarship, so I'm going back to Korea in June to August to intensively study the language.
Oh my god!
Oh no! I was so stressing about what am I going to do after school? And that opportunity fell. It's a really competitive scholarship, so I just applied for it. I was like, because people were like, you never get accepted the first time. You have to apply at least twice. I was like, okay, let me get my first application in. And then after grad school or mid-grad school, I apply again. Boom. See where we are. I got it. So I'm going to Korea again. And it brings me one step closer to actually working in Korea. So I would love to do that. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, language is like a door.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Now you have that door open.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Congratulations, Joy!
Thank you. Thank you. For the audience, I would like to leave everyone with, I think, the key things that I go by in life. Find your faith. Find what you believe in. Stand for something. Whether it's your values, your norms, your faith, stand for something. Seek opportunity. Make use of it. Be open-minded with control. You don't have to take in everything. You're not a sponge. Filter what you experience in life, and really making those mental connections between things will really help you increase and expand your world perspective. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Thank you, Eason.
Thank you so very much, Joy. Your story truly helps.
Thank you.
Oh, this is amazing. Thank you, Joy.
You're welcome.
This is really good. Look at how many gems you just dropped.
Please.
I'm gonna pick them up and sell them later.